Every year, I see this really cool shiny hunting collaboration stream by PM7, where tons of Pokemon streamers and YouTubers get together and try and shiny hunt every single Pokemon from a particular region within 24 hours. And for the last few years, I've been wondering, how many could I get if I did it alone? If I sat down and tried to catch as many little shiny guys as I could I get them all? Could I do it even faster than the group of people? Well, recently I decided to finally act on this feeling and take the challenge on myself in one of my favorite games, Pokemon Emerald. The goal? Catch every single shiny in the regional decks using one game, all within 24 hours. Now, I didn't want to do this in one day staying up all night, as I don't think that's super healthy or something you should encourage. But I still wanted this to feel challenging, so I would do it in 2 12-hour days. I decided to do this in a game with a completed save file, rather than starting a new one. I also decided to allow the cloning glitch for rare candies and master balls, but I wouldn't do anything as complex as POMEG corruption or arbitrary code execution. With the save all set up, I woke up at 5 a.m. and then began streaming at 6 a.m. on Friday, September 12th. I didn't have a super solid plan as to how I would catch all of these shinies, so I figured the logical way was to just go route by route through the normal game progression and catch everything that I could. I did skip Route 101 though, because Route 102 has everything that it has and more. The first shiny I ended up catching was Poochyena, which I found 1 minute in. There it is, first one down. Then I found a Lotad, and a Wurmple, and a Zigzagoon, and finally a Ralts. With that, I was finished with Route 102 in 13 or so minutes. Actually, there's one more Pokemon you can get here. Trust me, stick around and you'll see why I skipped Seedot. We will get it eventually. Next, I went up to Route 103 because it has a Wingull, and nothing else here is unique. Next up was Route 104 South for Meryl and Talo, and then Petalburg Woods for a bunch of bugs and a Droomish. At this point, I had about 11 shinies, and it's only been 35 minutes. I was cooking. My confidence was high, the speed was fast, but I sort of knew this couldn't last. There was a wall coming, but that's for later Blisy to worry about. Current Blisy just has to catch some more sparkly fellows. The next route I went to was 116, where I caught a Nincada and then a Whismur. This is actually the third rare I've now skipped. Seedot, then Slackoth, and now Skitty. I'll have to come back for all of these later. After this route, I had my first choice of the run. Since I'm in the post game, I can go anywhere. Do I go to Route 117, Dewford, Route 115, or Route 105? I chose to go to Dewford. I didn't surf though. Pokemon available via surf are pretty much the same in the whole ocean of Hoenn, so I would just do that later. In Dewford, I head to Granite Cave to get a shiny Abra, a shiny Geodude, a shiny Zubat, and a shiny Makuhita all on the first floor. On the second floor, I additionally have access to Sableye and Aeron. After this is Route 110, where I collect a bunch more shinies before moving on to the desert route in 111. I actually love all of the Route 111 shinies, they're really good. This is probably the highlight route in Hoenn so far for me. We are about an hour and a half in so far as I grab Numel, Coughing, and a few more shinies from the surrounding routes and cave. By the time I'm on Route 113, I've got 30 shinies and we're 2 hours and 20 minutes into the run. I'm feeling great, and this is one of my favorite sections of the game. There's tons of cool Pokemon here with great shinies. Skarmory, Spinda, Slugma, and Swablu. I love them all, but Swablu's a particular favorite. I'm sure by this point you're wondering, hey, what kind of method are you using? Does Emerald have a radar like Diamond and Pearl? Chain fishing like Gen 6? No. Gen 3 doesn't really have your normal shiny hunting methods. It's basically all full odds. I'm doing all of this with RNG manipulation. Before you click off thinking, hey, that's cheating. That's not normal shiny hunting. Let me explain what it is and how RNG manipulation is the most fun I've ever had playing a Pokemon game. Traditional full odds shiny hunting is like a game of chance, similar to pulling a slot machine a bunch of times until you hit the jackpot, which is a 1 in 8,192 chance to get a Pokemon that's a different color and sparkles when you send it into battle. RNG manipulation couldn't be more different. It's all about skill. To simulate random chance, the game changes the luck every time the screen refreshes, which happens every 1/60th of a second. This is sometimes called a frame or an advance. Using complex calculators and a timer app, I'm able to predict what the luck will be on any given frame, and also the time to start the battle with said frame. This is how I'm getting so many shinies. I have a shiny frame like 13 seconds into the game, and am repeatedly restarting and trying to time my A-press on Sweet Scent to start an encounter when the Pokemon would be shiny. And yes, I'm doing all of this on original hardware. The footage looks great because I'm using a capture DS, but just a regular DS otherwise. One of the things that makes this so cool is that I can't sit back and run around randomly. The success or failure of this challenge comes down to how well I'm playing on the day of, like a speed run or something. I'd also encourage you to think differently about what normal and regular can mean. We're all playing a single player game. These loaded terms can be used to exclude groups of people or make them feel bad because they play that game differently than you. We're all just here to make friends and have fun at the end of the day. On to the rest of the video, now that you understand RNG manipulation. After Route 114, I moved to Meteor Falls, a standout location in Hoenn. Although I think the visuals in Ruby Sapphire were a little better than Emerald. Here I get Zubat and Solrock, and then I have to head to the basement to get Bagon. Once Bagon is done, I head to North Route 115 to capture Swellow and Jigglypuff. And things are starting to get slightly concerning for me already. I'm about 3.5 hours in, and it took me 15 minutes to get a single shiny Swellow. Make no mistake, this is going to be challenging regardless of RNG manipulation. Doing anything for this long straight is going to be exhausting and will make things much harder. Once I have Swellow, it's only a few more minutes until I catch Jigglypuff, and at this point it's time to head to the east of Hoenn, as I've gotten everything from all of these routes. So I head back to Mauville and I do some surfing encounters on Route 118. As I said previously, surfing routes are basically the same everywhere. Tentacool, Wingull, Tentacruel, and Pelipper. There are some exclusives in various spots, but I'll get to them when I get to them. Relatively quickly, I'm able to get Tentacool, and then a few minutes after that, Pelipper shines for me too. After this, I head onto land and I catch Manectric and Linoone, which I banked first try back to back. I don't know, replay, because I've never done such a thing. Back to back! I'm the go! Bam! 2 shinies in 30 seconds. That doesn't seem like a lot of Pokemon, does it? 2 on 1 route? Well, unfortunately, as we come close to finishing the land routes, I am sort of running out of unique captures. Route 119 only has 1 Pokemon I don't have, which is a Tropius. After I snag it, I actually use it as my new Sweet Center, so every time I try to get a shiny, I see a shiny. Blisy, what about Feebas? I promise, we will get to it later down the line. Fishing is going to be a whole ordeal. Anyway, on Route 120, I have an invisible Kecleon block I never captured behind this sign, so I can avoid using Sweet Scent for once. Here, rather than timing my Sweet Scent, I time my final dialogue press for the encounter. This takes me about 15 minutes as well. Rather than it's because I'm exhausted or tired from streaming and RNG manipulating this long, it's more so because the timing for Kecleon is different than the timing for Sweet Scent, which is generally the same in each area. So I had to spend some time getting calibrated.
Level 100.
The rest of Route 120 is Absol and Mightyena via Sweet Scent, and Route 121 is the first route with absolutely nothing unique to it. So I have to head straight to Mount Pyre. On the bottom floor, it's all Shuppet, baby, who I am able to snag first try. From there, I have to head to the 4th floor to catch Duskull. It's here I feel the need to mention, because I have so many shiny frames within reach of each other, I'm actually seeing a lot of duplicates. Like this shiny Shuppet, who I reset over 4 times while looking for the shiny Duskull. Hey, don't get mad at me. My box space is limited, okay? I don't want to fill it up with shinies that I don't need for the challenge. With that, we have to move on to the outdoor of Mount Pyre to get Vulpix and nothing else. It may look like I'm out of land options for now, but there's actually a few more sneaky spots that I can head to. The first of which is Diving, which, is that really land? I don't know. All of the dive spots have the same 3 Pokemon available to them: Clamperl, Chinchou, and Relicanth. And surprisingly, yes, you can use Sweet Scent underwater. And actually, if you're doing runaway hunts, Sweet Scenting is faster than running around. This is because moving underwater is really slow, and the encounter rate underwater is really slow, so Sweet Scent will get you encounters really, really quick. This also applies to surfing, but just because of the encounter rate. With the 3 dive Pokemon captured, I have officially passed the 5-hour mark. After that's done, I hit up Shoal Cave for a Spheal. I cannot capture Snorunt at all because my real-time clock battery is dead, so I'm going to be skipping it for this run, unfortunately. That's another shiny that I can't get. The final fresh land that I have, for the most part, is Victory Road. And I was also kind of getting tired at sitting at this point, so I had to adjust my whole setup to kind of stand awkwardly. It actually really helped though and re-energized me. In Victory Road, I have a good variety of Pokemon to catch. I back-to-back get Hariyama and Lyron. That's a first try Hariyama, baby. See how I feel? Back to back. And then we go to the lower floor for Mauville. The only other spot I could even think of at the moment was Smeargle in Artisan Cave, so I snagged one of those really quickly as well. I now have a few options available to me. I could start fishing, or I could head into the Safari Zone. Both of these had the same issue though. My shiny frames were actually too short, as in too close to game launch. You see, typically the way an RNG manip works is that I soft reset my game in sync with a timer, and then I hit A to Sweet Scent when that timer ends. but saving is not possible in the Safari Zone. So I have to walk to my spot after the soft reset. 13 seconds is not even enough time to get into the first patch of grass. And my next closest shiny is like a 5-minute wait away. Uh-oh. Fishing would be possible if this was Fire Red, but Emerald has the fishing minigame where a random amount of dots appears when you cast the rod, and the random amount of dots appear a random amount of times. And the Super Rod has the most possible dot sequences, so that's also not possible. Is that it? Is the run cooked? Well, no. At this point, I did some evolving of Pokemon who cannot be caught in the wild while spamming rare candies, and I spent some time thinking about my options. I realized I do have some more static encounters open to me. This save still has all 3 of the Reggies, a Fossil, and Kyogre available to me, so I can catch all of them. After evolving, I went from 62 to 69 shinies, and I also caught a Magikarp via Surf. I realized you can get it without fishing only in Sootopolis. Then I headed to Devoncorp to get Anorith. This is sort of the same process as Kecleon, except that there's no battle, so it can go by even quicker. And the final A-Press is different timing than Kecleon as well, so I had to recalibrate. After I got its shiny, chat voted to get the Reggies next, because I streamed all of this right here on my YouTube channel. So I had to capture a Wailord quickly and then get a Pokemon with Dig. I didn't go for a shiny Wailord because of the aforementioned fishing issue, and for Dig I had to get a Trapinch to level 41, which was extremely annoying because I didn't have an Everstone. I also evolved Trapinch after it learned Dig because I do need a shiny Flygon in the collection anyway. I'll also highlight Vibraba's shiny here, probably my favorite of the run. Those amber colors look amazing, don't they? Anyway, after I do the Reggie puzzle, it's time to catch the Titans. I go for Regirock, who I catch first try after calibration. First try after calibration. That was legit first try. First try post calibration is first try. Yes, of course. This is all true. We all know about this. Everybody knows first try post calibration is the same as a regular first try. Indeed. And immediately after my second try, my game crashed. I didn't save after getting, like, anything. And I had to catch it again because I hadn't saved yet. So I redo Regirock, who I get on my 5th try. And then I head to Registeel, who I get on my second try again. First try after calibration! Come on! It's the first try on the second try, because on the first try, you don't know when the correct time to hit A is. Last up was Regice, who I just get normally on a normal try. Don't even worry about if it was the second try, or the first try, or whatever. This whole ordeal seriously slowed down my shinies per hour. When I started the Reggie's quest, I had 73 shinies, and I was 7 hours and 3 minutes into the challenge. After catching all 3, I'm at 7.5 hours with only 3 new shinies to show for it. I also had to head to the Weather Institute to find Kyogre's location, who I got in a few attempts and about 10 more minutes. Kyogre is no real different than any of the other legends, other than the fact that you have to hit up to start its encounter instead of A. In addition, I cannot catch Rayquaza or Groudon or Lileep on this save file, and that's because I got them all already. This is the save file that I used for my team building video series, where I caught Minba Lei's team from Journey Across America, and all 3 of those Pokemon were on the team. Poor planning on my part for the challenge, but oh well, what can I do about it, right? After Kyogre, I realized I forgot 2 land routes, 117 and 123. 117 has Illumise as its only unique Pokemon, and 123 has Gloom. Then I spent a bunch more time evolving. I'm at 87 total shinies and about 9 hours in and out of options. So it's time to set up for the Safari Zone. As I mentioned previously, there's a big problem with this, where soft resetting to my 13-second shiny frame will take too long. But there is a solution via a post-game feature called the Battle Record. This feature plays your last PvP or Frontier battle back to you. And rather than being a video recording on a GBA cartridge, it's actually a recreation using saved teams, what moves you picked, and yes, the RNG state at the start of the battle, because of the luck, like crits and stuff. So if you start a battle nearby a shiny frame that you want, and then save that battle as a battle record, every time you open the record, the RNG is set back to what it was at the start of that battle, which means I can now quickly and easily farm shinies in the Safari Zone. All I have to do is pick a new shiny frame and wait here in the Battle Frontier. When the timer ends, I start the battle. I aim intentionally about 1000 frames earlier than my target, which means that's how long it'll take to find a shiny once I close a battle record. This is something that's going to slow everything down again though. The Safari Zone Pokemon can run away, and they also don't stay in a Safari Ball particularly often. And I catch Pokemon who aren't shiny to find out where I landed in the sequence to know if I'm early or late when I adjust my timing. And those Pokemon can run too. So this could be tedious to say the least. After about 20 minutes counting all the setup and such, I caught a shiny Pikachu in the first Safari Zone area. Then I headed to the southeast to catch the shinies here, which are Sunkern, Mareep, Aipom, Spinarak, Hoothoot, Snubbull, Stantler, and Gligar. I'm now 10 hours in and finally starting to drag. My timing is all out of whack and I'm yelling at chat way less. Not an ideal time to be doing the hardest spot to catch shinies in, but I don't have any other options, so I just have to push through. I see a shiny Gligar, but it doesn't stay. So I try again and again and again. And I am also repeatedly bouncing between 1 frame late and 1 frame early. 18 minutes later, the second shiny Gligar appears. And then in one ball, it's gone. 4 more Gligar later, and I still don't have it. Will this be the end of the run? No, finally. On the 5th Gligar, and an hour after I started the Safari Zone, I have my second shiny from it. Sunkern shows up next, basically right away, and immediately stays in the ball. Oh my gosh, thank you. I go for Hoothoot next, where it's become apparent I've lost my mind. Half frame tech was it. Let it be known. Let it be known the half frame is real. Let it be known the half frame is real. All praise the half frame. All praise the half frame. It's real. I do catch it fairly quickly though. The last shiny of the day is Stantler, who I caught without much incident. The rest of the time though, I catch nothing. I stopped streaming at 11 hours rather than 12 because I'm so tired, and also I had to pick someone up from the airport because I didn't plan well enough. Day 2 starts off strong, where I find Aipom in the Safari Zone immediately, and 4 of them run away. But I back them until it stays in the ball. Next, I head to the Safari Zone northeast and catch Teddy Ursa, Ladybug, Pineco, Houndour, and Miltank. Most of these were without incident or any difficulties, really. Some of them I had to find twice, but that's just how the Safari Zone works, right? I finished both the northeast and the southeast in about 40 minutes today. And Miltank was the 100th shiny of the run. After that, I went back to the starting area because aside from Pikachu, I forgot to get a bunch of them. Natu, Girafarig, Doduo, and Wobbuffet are all here. And none of them have a super high runaway chance. And all of them get in the ball pretty quickly. And I actually mean it. It was only about 20 minutes to get everything in the base area. Safari Zone North had the Great Sage Phanpy, who gave me his many summers of wisdom in order to help me out on this journey. Heracross, though, was insisting on being a bit of a pain. I had to see it 4 times before it stayed in the ball. I got Xatu next, who thankfully stayed on the very first ball. That was also the last Pokemon in the Safari North that I needed. The final section is the Northwest, because the Southwest actually has 0 unique Safari Pokemon compared to what I've caught so far. Here I get Dodrio on my first try, which is pretty cool. I love to not have my time wasted. 5 attempts later, I see Pinsir Shine, but it runs. So I have to reset like 20 more times until I find it again. Something to note about the battle record technique is that it's significantly quicker than soft resetting, because getting through the intro and dead battery message is actually pretty slow. So despite the fact that the Safari Pokemon are really annoying to catch, this actually softens the blow somewhat, and some of these Pokemon I caught quicker than Pokemon out of the Safari Zone. Anyway, the very next reset I see a Rhyhorn, and with that I'm done in the Safari Zone for now. We have 110 shinies and are 13 hours in. What a trek it's been so far. I now move on to do some fishing. Using the same battle record, I have plenty of time to reel up some fellows, and the first one I go for is Love Disc, the Golden Girl. After that, I snag a Barboach, and the only place you can get this little guy is in Meteor Falls. I should also mention that fishing is really awful because of the minigame. Previously, I explained that the Super Rod takes a really long time to RNG manip for because of the ellipses, but this actually also causes the RNG to fail a ton. Every time the fishing rod decides whether or not it's going to reel in a Pokemon, that advances the RNG sequence a little extra bit. This can make it difficult to dial in my calibration. So what I do every time there's not even a nibble is redo the RNG, and that's another reason the battle record is good. Soft resetting takes way longer than opening a battle record and closing it. After I finish Barboach, I realize I forgot a spot on the land again. New Mauville has Magnemite, Magneton, Voltorb, and Electrode. I don't have any Magneton or Electrodes available to me though. I keep saying this because of how I've chosen to get these encounters. In the random number sequence, which Pokemon spawns happens before the nature and IV of the Pokemon are generated, and the shininess. This is called the encounter slot, and there's 12 of these, labeled 0 through 11. I didn't have any shinies at all on the rare encounter slots, which for the most part are 10 and 11 for land and 2 for fishing. But isn't it odd I have so many shinies available to me at the same time? Well, yes, but that's because of the ability Synchronize. After which encounter slots are determined, in Emerald, the game checks to see if a Synchronize should occur, and you should get a Pokemon that matches your lead Pokemon's nature with that ability. This basically clones a Pokemon's personality ID into a bunch of nearby encounter slots. With my initial lead, I had encounter slots 0 through 9 available to me, and this gets me a ton of Pokemon, but I miss many rares. A new battle record with a different synchronized nature will allow me to hit the rares for both fishing and land at the same time. So first, I catch a new Abra who isn't shiny using RNG manipulation, and then I repeat the process to make another battle record the same as I did before. Now I can get all of those fellas that I skipped, and I decided once again to go in order. So I snag a Seedot on Route 103, Skitty on 116, and Nuzleaf on 114. After those, I head to Mount Pyre for Chimecho. I erroneously believe that's all of the rares on land completed, so I head to the sea for some fishes. Staryu is up first off the coast of Lily Cove with a great shiny. Then in Petalburg, I super rod for a Corphish, which I could have done earlier since that's all that's available here, but I just forgot. And that's my 120th shiny. Off the coast of Pacificlog, I get Sharpedo and go for Horsey in the same location. But my game crashes immediately after catching Horsey, so I have to catch them again. I think there's actually something wrong with my Emerald cartridge, because I had multiple crashes at this point, and it really slowed the pace of the rundown, to be honest. Up next is the one I'm sure everyone is waiting for, Feebas. This Pokemon has a pretty notorious reputation for being tough to catch, but I actually don't think it's well earned. The best strategy is to use the Old Rod and check every fishable tile once. You'll find Feebas within an hour or two. I tried to use Mux's Feebas Finder, but it didn't work out for me. In the end, after fiddling about with the website and then doing a manual search, I got Feebas in about an hour. I will say, with only about 7 hours left, I have resigned to the idea that I'm probably not going to be able to evolve this in time, with how long berry mixing would take on a game with no glitches. Anyway, I catch Feebas and Carvanha here using the Super Rod and the exact same frame. Feebas is actually generated kind of weirdly. It doesn't have an encounter slot like I talked about before. It just sometimes randomly takes the spot of whatever should spawn there. After Feebas, I realized I needed Slackhoth because I forgot Petalburg Woods. And now it's, unfortunately, back to the Safari Zone for some fishes that I don't have. Despite Goldeen being available in a few different places and having caught it already, Seaking is only available here. I also have to get Psyduck, who is a nice shade of blue. I don't have too much else to do, or I couldn't think of it, so I started evolving everything that I couldn't catch in the wild, which is boring. It's rare candy spam plus clone glitch spam plus rare candy glitch plus clone glitch spam. I don't think that using hand leveling would be any more interesting, but what do you guys think? Have I tarnished this run by using glitches? Anyway, by the time I'm done leveling, I went from 127 shinies to 166. I can still evolve some more, but they're with items and not candies. It's the Moonstone for one of Jigglypuff or Skitty. I chose Jigglypuff. And then I actually also missed some shinies. Plusle and Grimer both needed to be caught. Plusle was on Route 110 and Grimer was on Fiery Path. At this point, I had 169 shinies and I was done evolving and done catching. The only Pokemon that are available to catch are Pokemon that I've already caught, like Rayquaza or some other legendaries. Snorunt is also unavailable to me because I cannot get deeper into the cave. And then a lot of the evolution that I have to do is trades or baby Pokemon. And I only have like an hour left of the challenge. And the baby Pokemon are going to take a really long time to breed because I do not have RNG breeding properly set up. And I think there's only 2 of them. But that's when it dawned on me. I can get one of them without it being too difficult. Why not? I never got the why not egg. So I RNG manip it by receiving it from the old woman in Lavaridge town. This is actually kind of an annoying RNG manip because I do have to hatch it. Luckily, Emerald version does actually have the lead ability that can reduce hatching, so I get a Slugma, one of my shiny ones, with Magma Armor. And every time I receive it, I have to hatch it. And it takes a long time, and it's kind of annoying to figure out where I landed in the RNG sequence because Why Not doesn't have very high stats. The way that I tell where I am in the RNG is by calculating a Pokemon's IVs. But a Pokemon at level 5, you can't do that super precisely, so I have to level it up using rare candies every single time I hatch it. And hatching it takes like 2 minutes every time. So it's not a fast manip at all. And that's the last shiny of the run. I ended up with 170 shinies, and I did it in about 22 hours and 30 minutes. I was about 2 hours shy of my 24-hour mark, but there really wasn't much else that I would be able to get. So was I right? Could I do it? Well, no, I was close, but I didn't get everything that was available to me in a single game, and that's in part because of poor planning. If I was to do this again in another game, I would make sure to use a fresh save and not catch any legendaries or anything like that. If you guys want to see me do this again, click the subscribe button. And let me know down below if you'd want to see me do it again. I've been toying around with the idea of doing it in a Gen 4 game, so if that's something you'd want to see, please let me know. I hope you all enjoyed this challenge. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next video.